Okay folks, next topic on the off-grid homestead series. Let's talk a little bit about improvisation. Okay, been looking after this place for around about a week now, and just looking at some of the ideas that John has used to improvise to suit different situations and so on. What we're looking at here is the rainwater tank off the poultry shed. Okay, he built this himself. I'm just looking at the end of it at this point. Downpipe, he secured it with some builder strapping there so that high winds that downpipe doesn't get blown away or snapped off by the wind. And also we have a closer look at this. He's built it at such a height, the rainwater tank, that it just gravity feeds straight into the water containers inside the poultry pen. It doesn't need a pump, you don't need to cart water. It's just at the right height to provide enough gravity feed to slowly fill those water containers for the poultry. There's two water containers in there, so he's used a hose splitter. Each outlet has its own individual tap plus the main tap on the tank. Okay, we'll go and have a look at a couple of other examples. Back in a sec. The next one, the pad bolt that John put on this gate for the poultry pen, and he built all this himself. Corrugated iron sheeting down the bottom there to help keep some of the predators out from digging or finding their way under the wire. But of note, these pad bolts, they normally come in kits. They'll also have a pressed metal loop or clasp to go in there so that the bolt can slide in and out. Now what John has done, I don't know whether it's because he didn't have one of those clasps that came with the kit, but using a bit of builder strapping, he's made this area much bigger than what normally comes in the manufactured kit. The reason for that is that, well, the gate's made out of wood, supporting posts are made out of wood, just rammed into the earth, rammed earth around them, and of course these move with soil moisture, dryness, weather and so on. And when they move, you quite often find with the full kit that won't go into the normal loop that comes with the kit. So he's made it a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger action. It's still functional to help compensate for any movement in the gate or the building or the supporting posts on the gate. So that's another example of improvisation. And improvisation is about thinking outside the box. So we'll go and have a look at another one. Okay, another one. In a previous video in this series we covered the gardens, and I mentioned in that the sides fold down, and the way he's done it, he's improvised, made up his own system here where the sides fold down and also the ends. That's to give better protection to the garden from predators, but also the sides fold down to give better access to the garden to do work in there, whether you're planting, harvesting, or just doing general stuff in the garden. So what he did was he improvised the nut and bolt system, goes on there and just simply screws up on that cyclone rod or Rio bar. Cyclone rod, and he's used Rio bar across the top here. give you some idea of how the system works, on the topic of improvisation, I just hope I can get this on camera. Okay, as I said before, these sides fold down flat against the side of the garden, so when you're working in the garden you haven't got to stomp all over them or try and work around them. So it's up flat against the sides and the ends of the garden, and it just simply fold it up when you're finished. See if I can do this one-handed. There we go. That just slots in there. And just simply screw that on to secure it. Very good idea. Protects the garden and also enables you to fold all these sides down in the ends so you can work in the garden itself. Alright, we'll go on to the next one. Okay. Another item of improvisation. Earlier video in this series we covered sanitation. That's the drum or the canister that you remove when it's full and replace it with a spare one, an empty one. So what John has done to make life a lot easier, and these can be quite heavy once they're full, is in the spirit of improvisation he's made up his own trolley to sit the canister on. Small wheels, you see that there, so that it rides fairly smoothly over this concrete slab. He used RHS. He's also put some sort of hitching mechanism on the end there so they can hook it up to some sort of vehicle, be a ride-on mower or the back of a tractor or something like that. And yes, I know these caster wheels just don't cut it when you're dragging it across the ground, but what he's done is put jockey wheels on there, one either side, in such a way that when he gets it out he can fold them down and just hitch it up and tow it away to the storage area behind the shed. Okay, that's just a few items I've showed you on improvisation. Now, John and Sandy have lived on this property for quite some time, over 10 years, and living in situations like this you learn to improvise with the materials you've got, whether they be commercial available materials and or utilising materials from the surrounding bush and things like that. One of the things that perhaps needs to be thought out when considering living off-grid on a homestead, this is a fairly isolated area. Nearest hardware store, produce store, supermarket, whatever, is about 35 miles down the road. So on properties like this, it's not a matter of bucking down to the nearest hardware place or the produce store to pick up a box of screws or a box of nails or something like that. Sure, you can keep some of this stuff on site, and it's a good idea that you do. Just how much? Well, it's really a decision you've got to make. But the key to it is improvisation, thinking outside the box. What can I use that's already here on site, whether it's natural materials out of the bush or stuff you've got stored away to do the job, to find a solution to whatever you're doing, whether it's repairs or some project you're working on or something like that. So that's all part and parcel and another topic of homesteading is being able to think outside the box, looking at a situation and finding a solution to it, be that through improvisation and using the materials that are at hand with what you've got stored here, or in some cases what you can find in the bush. So that's a little bit on improvisation. I've just shown you a couple of small examples, and with improvisation comes skills, skill sets. At the very least, when you're looking at a particular situation, a problem or a project, it can involve any number of skills. Things like plumbing, building, how to join two pieces of timber together, how to string up some fencing wire, low voltage electrical work, things like that. And this is where it comes into the preparing side of things. These are skills that one should probably look at learning about, even it's a very basics. And I'll give you some examples. Okay, basic mechanics, where yes, they use vehicles here, they've got some farm machinery, they've got a generator and so on. Basic mechanics, if something breaks, can you fix it? Well, basic mechanics will help you determine whether you can or you can't, or you may need more advanced mechanical knowledge, whether you have it yourself or you've got to take it away somewhere else to get fixed. But also servicing the equipment, general maintenance, basic mechanics, it all comes under that. Basic building skills and knowledge. As I've mentioned, how to join some timber, how to string up wire fences, wire meshing, how to run or mount feeder boxes for the poultry or any other livestock, things like that. Basic plumbing. With this place, water reticulation within the house, certainly with the poultry pen and any other livestock where you've got to run water to their location. Water reticulation on this property from the rainwater tanks and also the dams. So there's that basic skill too. There are a lot of others. Because basically when you're in a homestead situation like this in an isolated area, you're on an island by yourself. That's putting it very basically. It's not a matter of you need something you can duck 5 or 10 minutes down the road and go and buy it or whatever the case may be. Another basic skill you need is first aid, and moving on to advanced first aid. You hurt yourself out here. As I mentioned previously in the series, these are isolated areas. Road access can be very rough and sometimes can be cut off, but certainly relying on the knowledge of the emergency services to come out here in a serious medical situation. So there are some of the skills. There's a whole lot more. I could spend all day talking about it, but I won't. But basically what you've got to look at is in a off-grid homestead situation is look at other skills you need to make yourself more self-reliant, more self-sustainable in situations where, as I said, it's not a 5-minute drive, 10-minute drive down the road to the nearest hardware store, produce place, supermarket, whatever the case may be. So in preparing for living off-grid, it'd be a good idea to learn some of these skills and practice them. And there's plenty of information out there in books, libraries. Talk to people, utilise their knowledge of skills, tradesmen, on the internet and things like that. So basic skills, something that needs to be thought about and certainly put into practice, even going back to more primitive skills in cases when something happens. Learn basic skills, not just modern skills. Combine them both. Learn how to use both. Now in this area here, the most common natural disasters we have in this area, bushfires and severe weather events that result in flooding, high winds, storm damage, hail damage to crops and buildings, things like that. So these are skills that you need to look at, how you're going to get around these problems. In the case of where you can't get out due to road damage, the skills you need to rely on to become self-reliant or stay self-reliant and sustainable for the duration that you haven't got access to the place. And there are lots of other examples. So there's some thoughts for you there anyway on basic skills and improvisation. So we're getting pretty close to the end of the series now, and I'll do a summary video or a conclusion. And certainly there are a whole lot of other issues with off-grid homesteading. Too many for me to cover in a video. I've barely scratched the surface, so I'll end this particular session just here, and I'll catch you later.